everyone. Someone has asked me to talk about the pilots, SIA Pilots industrial action back in the 1980s. The confrontation between the pilots and the management, and then how Lee Kuan Yew, the then Prime Minister, came into the picture. Well, it was a long time ago. It was, I think, November 1980, when the pilots were not satisfied and they were asking for 30% increase in their salaries. And SIA would not grant. So there was a deadlock in their union negotiation. So what happened was the pilots took law into their own hands. The Pilots Association, it was known as SIA Pilots Association, SIA Pilots Association. So what they did was, it wasn't an outright strike, but they worked to rule. In other words, they'll do the minimum. They will just follow the book and do the minimum. If it's 12 hours duty, they will just stick to 12 hours. They won't use their discretion and work a little bit more where they can really stretch. So that actually paralyzed the whole SQ routing system. So it went on for more than a week. They couldn't settle, the management and the Pilots Association couldn't settle the issue. So Mr. Lee Kuan Yew, the then Prime Minister, then was so angry, and he summoned the Pilots Association committee members to the Istana, his office, and gave them a dressing down. He threatened to close the airline, sack the whole lot, all the pilots, start all over again. I think you can Google or go to YouTube and find out the speech he gave at the Fullerton building during the election campaign. So, of course, the pilots were taken aback because they didn't expect Lee Kuan Yew to intervene so strongly. So, I think within less than an hour, they agreed to sit down with the management of SIA. J.Y. Pillay, the chairman of SIA, was at the Istana too. And I understand he was also given a strong word by Lee Kuan Yew. So Lee Kuan Yew told them, you go back, negotiate, and stop this nonsense of, work to rule. Otherwise, the whole airline will go down into the drain. So they sat down, and then they had a discussion, and they told Lee Kuan Yew, okay, they won't challenge him. They'll sit down with management and talk about the pay thing. And they finally agreed to a settlement later on. The pilots were asking for a 30% increase in their salaries, including the meal allowances. We in cabin crew, we were not interested in whatever they were asking, except the meal allowances, which we will get the same as the pilots. So all of us, the pilots and the cabin crew back then, were getting about $58, I believe 58 or 59 a day flat to wherever you fly to per day, less than $60. So that's what SIA proposed. But it was actually, in my opinion, was quite ridiculous, because you're paid $58 or $59 a day in London, and then you're also paid $59 a day in Japan, or in Australia, or in Jakarta if you night stop. So, but to cut a long story short, the pilots were successful in getting some increase in their basic pay and allowances, and also the meal allowances, which meant so much to us then, the cabin crew, was increased, and they go by region. So if the place that we stop is an expensive place, at that time was Japan, Europe, States, Australia, then we get more. See, and if we stop at Bangkok, East, like Jakarta or Bali, we will get a little bit less. So that I think issue was settled, and it was a realistic approach. So we were very happy because from $58 a day, we got about $200 a day in Europe, Japan, and give and take a few dollars in the States. So the whole thing was settled, but you know, you don't fool around with then Prime Minister Lee Kuan Yew, and the pilots knew it.